By the way, we after our show today, we did the draft show. I just want to kind of throw that out there.
How did Wolchuk do?
He did really, really well.
Tore him up.
Yeah, we went after Tommy Yarish.
Had a bunch of fools on that show.
You went after Tommy?
Went after Tommy, then went after Nick Harris. Nick might not ever come back with us again.
He doesn't have the scout side for tight ends.
Who's his number one guy?
I know his number 2 guy is.
Who is it?
Miami guy.
Arroyo?
Yeah.
Hey, man, outside of the injuries and 5 years of no production until last year, what's not to like?
What's not to like?
Amen, brother.
All it took was Cam Ward showing up.
Whoever drafts Cam Ward, just get him Arroyo, and you'll look at like 20 yards of pop.
Yeah,
that could be a good tandem.
It's amazing.
Until his knee pops.
It's amazing to go back and watch like him, like kind of go back and see the numbers before. Just nothing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Cam Ward shows up, and all these guys that you ever see Miami all look great.
Hey, Restrepo's a heck of a slot receiver, though. Somebody's going to get a guy.
I'll tell you what, man. You talk
as long as he's not fumbling in the biggest moments of a
real quick. I promise
game.
I'm going to get to these scouting reports. Did you watch the Cal Miami game?
Yeah, that was an incredible game. That was the one that got taken from them. Miami had a couple of lucky wins last year, and that was one of them.
It was crazy though. Restrepo though, the way that the throws that they made down. What do you got?
We got another Cowboys signing.
Who?
Are you ready for this, boys?
Oh, this is big.
According to Schultze, Todd Archer, and others, the Dallas Cowboys are signing
a holder.
No, it's a defensive lineman.
A personal protector.
Peyton Turner, former first-round defensive end of the New Orleans Saints.
Peyton Turner.
I believe he came from Houston. Wasn't he a Houston Cougar?
The original Pepe.
Yeah.
So there's some more depth defensive end for you.
Nobody loves the first-round bust more than the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys do love to find a way to resurrect the first-rounders, which, hey, Rolando McClain, it worked out. Yeah. Leonard Davis, it worked out.
Yeah.
And I am going back a ways now.
Ryan Leaf, it didn't work out.
Did not work out there.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a corner in there somewhere that I'm forgetting. But, hey, now Peyton Turner and Solomon Thomas, 2 former first-rounders on your defensive line.
There you go. All right, Robert Jones. I'm going to give you the scouting report for Robert Jones. He's the left guard that was with the Miami Dolphins, now a Dallas Cowboys member. He's from Middle Tennessee. He came out in the 2021 NFL draft. He was undrafted, as Gavin Dawson told you a while back, and played all 17 games for the Dolphins this season. He's got the length for the position, but he doesn't do a very good job of taking advantage of how long he is in those limbs to be able to handle those defensive linemen that he deals with. He has a hard time keeping defenders off his body. He doesn't extend like he needs to in order to control these defenders. And it's surprising because you kind of feel like that, with this guy with some power, with some length that he has, that he'd be able to control rushers a little bit better, but he doesn't do that. He will show the power, as I mentioned, to hold defenders in place. Where he will get in trouble is when his feet stop. So you have these rushers get in on him, these defenders get to him, and then he stops his feet. He doesn't keep his feet going. And so that way that allows the defenders to kind of work around him or discard him. So he tends to really rely on his mass more than the technique in order to handle these defenders. He tends to play off balance. I think he lacks ideal range when it comes to the second level blocks. I think he's better when he can do those reach blocks where it's along the line of scrimmage, where he can just try and get his head across the defender, or the scoop block with the defender as well. So either going to his left or right along the line of scrimmage a little bit better than having to play on the second level. It tends to be a little bit of a slow there, and some problems on that second level. The further he has to go, the more trouble he tends to get into. I thought he could be overpowered as a pass blocker when the defender gets underneath him. There were a couple of sacks that came that way that he gave up. He has some initial quickness off the snap. His hands are ready, but he will miss with them, and that causes some problems as well. I thought he was aware for the games, the stunts, but not always successful being able to finish those. I think the reason they got this guy's experience and availability are a plus. Strength could be a factor as well, but he really does lack sustain. He was a left side player, as I mentioned, and will be asked to probably play on the right side, similar to what they have, I think, with Hoffman and Bass at those positions. So here's a guy that's just going to come and compete.
So weird. Why?
Real upgrade.
If your cap dollars are finite,
yep.
We're going redundant on a jobber right guard. You got two of those guys already, Brian.
Yep. I totally agree with you on that.
Math ain't mathing once again.
Nope. I'm not a big fan of the player, and I think having to play from the left side to the right side will be an adjustment for him. So, but
is he really good at the pins and pulls or any of the techniques they're going to try to add?
The second level stuff, I just didn't like. The stuff along the line of scrimmage, I thought he was okay. The stuff that caused we had to go up on a linebacker or have to pull, I didn't particularly think that was very good. So I think you're kind of in this spot. I don't think it keeps you from drafting a guy either, by the way. It's not one of those things where, they've got a couple of guys. I think they still need a player. I think they could upgrade with the draft over the guys that they currently have, believe it or not. All right, Solomon Thomas. Now, this is a different story here, Solomon Thomas.
Right. You just watched the highlights.
Who? Me? No, I watched
You gonna tell us he's better than Osa?
Down in, down out. Say it. Say he's better than Osa.
Day, no days off.
No, he's pretty good. I think this guy's pretty good. I tell you what, very similar player when it comes to initial quickness off the ball. I think that he plays as a 3. He's got a nice first quick step. I think he works hard to fight those reaches and scoop blocks that I was talking about. He doesn't let blockers hook him. He will lose the ball sometimes due to his over aggressiveness. But it wasn't all the time. It was just something that happened to him in the Denver game that I watched. I think this guy's good with his hands. I think he's got some quickness to him. I think he'll fire him inside. I think he'll control blockers with that. He could split double teams. The lateral quickness for the position. They use him on twist stunts. He could set up blockers. He had a sack versus Tennessee where he was on the outside shoulder of him, and he faked like he was coming up the field and then went back underneath, and he completely went around the blocker that way. I like that about him. I think he's got power to push the pocket. And when you watch him, if he gets a little too far up the field, you'll see him retrace his steps and get back in on the tackle. I think he plays with a burst. I think he can close from the backside. You saw him run down some guys. Ball carriers try to get to the outside. He's up the field, be able to make some plays from the backside. Was able to kind of get a sack that way. Quarterback got to the outside, and he was able to track him down. I thought he was quick to read blocking schemes and sniff out screens and plays to the outside. I think this guy is an upgrade. And, you were talking about Osa and stuff like that. I think this guy's a really good complementary piece to have with Osa as a 3 technique. I think you could play this guy at some edge even and put him on the outside and let him rush that way because of the initial quickness, the hand use, and the power that he plays with. So to me, here's a good use of your cap dollars right there, and going to get a guy that if, there won't be this huge fall off if Osa, you have to sub Osa out of a game, or you could put him, Solomon Thomas, and Osa in at the game at the same time as a tackle, two defense tackles, and rush the passers this way.
I love that idea. I think one thing's been clear with some of these signings now when you add Peyton Turner into the mix. The Cowboys clearly liked these guys coming out of the draft.
Yeah.
They liked Javonte Williams. They liked Solomon Thomas. They liked Peyton Turner. And when they become available, they'll
Jonathan
go back
Mingo.
Mingo.
Yeah.
They make the 4th round pick trade
Trey
for him,
Lance.
right? It's like Rob Jones, I don't know. He was an undrafted guy. Maybe they didn't love him. But these other guys, certainly, they viewed them highly, at least highly enough to consider drafting them. They weren't able to do it. Now as free agents, they're bringing them in and seeing if they can find something out of these dudes.
I think that Solomon Thomas can actually give you something. And
I think that's been the best of the signings.
Absolutely. Well, they'll say they're some of their owns, but if you look at a guy that the drop-off between Solomon Thomas and Osa Odighizuwa, I don't think is very huge. I think they're very similar players.
Better than Chauncey?
Well, Chauncey's more of that end kind of guy when they were playing him at tackle. But yeah, this guy is quicker and more upfield than what Chauncey would give you as a defensive tackle. So, but I think you could play this guy at a couple spots, but at that 3 technique, I think he'll be just fine. You won't have to worry about this guy.